So one of my favorite movies is probably also one of my cheesiest movies. The idea is it's in the not too distant future, and we had to build monsters to fight monsters. I guess we're going into Pacific Rim. Now, before we get too started on this, I just want to thank all my subscribers, and I'm really hoping you will give Durham Pagan Pride a chance. There's a new uh, trailer out. I will put a link to it. Please check it out, and if you can attend, I would really appreciate it. With that ritual out of the way, let's dig into Pacific Rim. So, one of the things that I find the most interesting about Pacific Rim is the idea of how these machines are controlled. See, on simpler machines, one person can directly interface their mind to control them, but because the Jaegers are so massive and with so much going on, they need one human to act as the right hemisphere and the one to act as the left. The idea being that one side is the creative side, one of them is the logical side, and they work in tandem. And that they bond through memories and trauma as they're doing this. The drift is probably one of the most interesting things and speaks to one of the deepest and most important concepts in craft that I can ever speak to. And I think there's lessons to learn here. Now, part of Wiccan ritual is the wine blessing, and it's probably one of the most beautiful points in ritual. And the idea of it is the priest and priestess come together in that moment in ritual, and they symbolically bless the wine in the traditional way that men and women would, with a beautiful chalice and the male's athame tip going into the chalice to bless the wine. Now, part of this is the idea that while the male holds the power and is the reservoir of that power, the female taps that power in him and channels it. The idea is that one can't work without the other. That one without the other is incomplete. This is a concept that I feel is super important and gets lost more and more in our day-to-day life. We need each other. Okay? Now, again, in the traditional Wiccan statement, the idea is that man without woman becomes unfocused, and woman without man lacks the strength to get things done. That's not really how reality is. But as a concept, it touches on something I feel is super important that gets lost in modern day. And that's the differences equaling out. Okay? Men and women are different. We're not just cogs in a machine that can be hot swapped out. Okay? Thankfully, women think and act differently. They have different physical strengths, but they balance out with their male counterparts because something that, say, for example, I wouldn't think of, my wife would. Okay? And this is good. It's good to have differences. It's good to have different points of view, different ways of seeing things. And even in queer couples, we can see that people typically who date people who are exactly like them don't make it far in a relationship. You need that complementary difference to balance each other out, to make a relationship work. Okay? I'll give you an example. My wife is incredibly artistic, absolutely beautiful in the subtle and just delicate levels of beauty she can get from anything and everything that she seems to touch. I've got an IT background. I'm inherently logical. I think about the world and how we get from point A to point B. Stephanie makes beautiful art, but she's terrible at selling it. I'm very good at selling it, but I couldn't make anything on my own without significant help. It's why I have this channel, is actually because my wife helps so much in the background. Thank you to my wife yet again. But this is personified in the movie. This is personified in the concept of the drift. You don't want somebody who's a mirror of you. You want somebody who's compatible in the drift. You see what I'm saying? The reason why our main characters, the male protagonist and the female protagonist, work so well together is because they think differently. Raleigh is very headstrong and passionate and inclined to be a brawler, where Miss Mako is very intelligent, very rational, plans her movements ahead of time, thinks a couple of steps ahead. They complement each other's styles. Without her, he's just a rampaging brute. Without him, she doesn't have the drive and the fury to push forward. One without the other is incomplete. And when they work together, they bring a level of magic to this machine to give it a kind of life. This is probably one of the most difficult things to do, is to find somebody complementary to yourself. Because it's hard to look at somebody and go, well, yeah, they have different political views than me. They don't see the world the same as me. I don't know if this will work out. Look, my wife and I have very different political views too, okay? I refer to myself as a man without a country, and my wife is very much what I would call a classical liberal. Very much in the belief of, we need to take care of people. We need to have the state be big enough to be able to take care of all the people involved. And I'm very much look, believe what you want, do what you want. We shouldn't be taking, for lack of a better term, governing over each other, except for in situations where it could hurt somebody. So do whatever the heck you want, but I don't want to pay for it. And that's the difference, right? I would much rather have a smaller government that stays out of my way, but doesn't get involved unless somebody's getting hurt. Okay? It's a complementary difference, okay? Because while she definitely has these beautiful ideas about humanity taking care of each other and helping each other out and guiding each other and having a planned situation to allow for that to happen, I'm very much for, yeah, I like that too, but I don't want to have to be the guy who pays the bill for it. So we need to come up with a way to make it less expensive, but still help people. And I think most of us can agree that helping people is good, and trying to find the most economical way to do it is better for all of us. So there's balance there, right? And we can toss ideas to each other, and the ideas don't just become an echo chamber. They get challenged, and that steel sharpens steel, and we produce better, more nuanced discussion. Because of this, we have a more nuanced approach to raising kids. We have a more nuanced approach to how we deal with day-to-day life. It can be hard and challenging sometimes to get out of your echo chamber and find somebody who is different than you but compatible. It's worth it. Because as we see with Pacific Rim, these are two people that are not the same, that were not raised the same, that were very, very different people. But they chose to work together for a common good. And they have to learn how to talk to each other, how to work with each other. They have to be able to view each other's world properly. And that is hard, guys. And it requires vulnerability, which is something that over time, less and less of us are willing to accept, willing to take on as that vulnerability. But it will be worth it if you take the time. Will you get hurt? Sure. We all get hurt when we're vulnerable and someone unfortunate takes advantage of that. But that is their mistake, not yours. The only time it becomes a mistake is when you've been vulnerable, you've been hurt, and you go back to the person that hurt you. So long as you're not doing that, you are doing the right thing. Not necessarily the easy thing, but the right thing. And I know that everybody here, has been given that option between what is good and what is easy. And I think my audience, for the most part, picks what is good. But just so that you know, as you're trying to find that person for you, that complementary person in the drift that you can bond with over memories and hardship, until you find that person, I'll help you out. Okay? Feel free to reach out. Feel free to talk to me. I'm here for you guys. Okay? I'll help you get yourself back together so you can get out there and be willing to try to be vulnerable again. Because the rewards are worth it. Okay? As they say in Pacific Rim, there are certain things, forces in nature, that you can't stand against alone. But when you're in a Jaeger, when you're with your drift-compatible partner, you can do it. You can face the storm. And I want all of you to be able to face that storm with your partner. And if you do have a partner right now, consider talking to them about this. Show them the video. Ask them, what are we not totally aligned on, but can work towards mutual goals on? Ask those questions. Learn and grow in the relationship. I promise you it's worth it. And you're not playing a game. You're honestly looking for the things that will help you guys grow together. Okay? Relationships are work, and sometimes they suck, but they're worth it. Okay? And even if it's a friendship, even if it's a buddy that is different than you, but that you can bounce things off of, that's really awesome too. Find somebody who is drift compatible, okay? Because all of you deserve that kind of partnership. All of you deserve... When I say love, I don't necessarily mean the kind of love you clean up with a mop and bucket. I'm talking about the kind of love that you feel deep inside, okay? That makes you feel like you can go that farther distance, that you can work that much harder, because you are worthy of that. It is a quest, it is a goal, it is a mission worthy of your time to find that right person. Because I promise you they are out there. Not somebody who does everything the same way you do. Not somebody who cleans the dishes the way you would like. Not somebody who, is the exact perfect mirror version of you. Somebody who's slightly different than you, but you can work with together as a partnership, as drift compatible. Okay. Somebody that you can bond with, somebody that you look forward to spending late nights talking about really important things. Things like life and a future and the history and that true crime podcast that you really, really love, or that weird witchy guy on YouTube that actually says some kind of cool things and makes you feel pretty good about yourself. All of those things are valid and they're worth your time. And I hope you find them. Guys, I want to thank you very much for listening today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.